EVO. This series contains adult language and depictions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised. Three, two, one. Hello and welcome back to another bonus episode of The Devil Within Satan's Shadow. We're up to episode, are we on 8 already?
We're on 8.
Episode 8, Fraud. Mm-hmm. I am joined again, luckily enough, by the great Margot Carmichael, host and creator of Death by Southwest, a podcast you should 100% check out and follow. And she is joining us again with her insights and her intelligence and her all-around wonderfulness. Margot, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks. That was nice.
All right.
I have something to say right off the bat here.
Uh-oh.
I read a comment on Spotify from one of the more recent episodes, and somebody said, it's like your guest didn't even read it. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. And I read it and I was like, read what? This is a podcast. And then I thought, oh, he must be talking that I haven't read like Dante's Inferno. No shit. This isn't like a college course I'm auditing. It's a podcast.
Jeez,
a true crime podcast. I haven't read Dante's Inferno. You're absolutely right, sir. Whoever left that comment. I did not read it, but I am learning about it. And I have listened to the podcast.
I need to look at these comments. I'll light that guy up. Don't worry about it.
No, it's fine.
Okay. All right.
But he's obviously listening still. So I just wanted to let him know that he's right. I haven't read it. So I may not sound as intelligent about it as you, but maybe I'll read it after I'm done with this.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what's interesting is what I've been doing since all of this is I've gone back to Purgatorio and Paradiso, to the final the two other sections.
All your spare time, you're just reading for fun now?
Well, I've always been a reader, but I needed to go back to this because it's just, gosh, you just realize how good it is. You realize how, oh my gosh, the enormity of Dante's intellect and creativity is shocking. Just when you think you're doing something that's pretty good, and then you're exposed to something like this, you're like, oh man, all right.
Don't be bad. You're doing something pretty good here.
But this is when you're going through purgatory with him and with Virgil, and then Virgil, so just as hell is a descent, purgatory, right? That's where you go to purge yourselves of your sins, right? Mm-hmm. Purgatory, purge. And you're going through, there's 7 levels on this mountain, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to, it's like you're deemed worthy enough, though having sinned, you're deemed pure enough to be able to suffer to remove your sins, so you can be pure enough to get into the kingdom of heaven. Okay, right. So whereas the suffering in the Inferno is forever. The suffering,
you're never getting out of there.
Right, the suffering in purgatory is temporary until you're deemed to have suffered enough to move forward. So you can. And so when they get to the top of the mountain and Virgil says, I can go no further, okay, because Virgil existed in a time before Christ. He's technically in limbo. So he'll forever be separated from the divine love of God, right? So he can't go beyond purgatory. And his bride is replaced by Beatrice. Like the great love of Dante's life. Beatrice is the one who guides him through heaven. And it's just so, man, just getting back into that, into the rhythm of his language and all that. It's been
yeah, insane. I would imagine like that's like a muscle, reading that type of, because I'm a reader too. I love to read, but I've never read anything like that. Like I like, I like true crime. I like some American classics. The Jungle is one of my absolute favorites. But that like kind of poetic language, I'd imagine takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
But
it's incredible.
I really liked Dante's. We're not gonna get into it yet because there's more before that. But I liked the Dante-esque parts in here.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah. Oh, man. And I have a little statement before. This is one of those episodes where I was shooting for something and I didn't quite make the mark. Okay.
Oh, really? See, I
Yeah.
have a few questions about that. Not about not making the mark, because I disagree, but you did. You were going you there was a lot in this episode
Yeah.
that you
Well,
were
I
trying to
knew that
make parallel between
this circle had a lot going on in it. There were,
this. Yes.
10 levels of this. But no, but with all of the stuff with the Golden Gate Bridge, and I wanted to tie that into the bridges in the Circle of Hell, because each one of these trenches is connected by a bridge, and I just couldn't. I just
Oh,
couldn't. I couldn't get there. I was trying, and then
okay.
it would have been really, really forced, and all of the ideas I tried weren't working, and I was getting really frustrated. So I just had to abandon it. But then I loved all of the stuff about the Golden Gate Bridge in the beginning, because it still ties in with Ramirez and with Feinstein, but not
It
as
totally
much.
does.
But not as much. I had such a grander idea for the episode that just I couldn't make work. But
See,
anyway, I just wanted to get in front of that. Yeah.
okay, this is actually on my last page of notes, but since we're talking about it, I'll just say it now. We can come back to it. But I took it as that the whole episode was kind of like all these things were connected about fate was kind of connecting them. So you had like people who barely survived, the bridge workers. Then you
Yeah.
had people who fell into power, Feinstein,
Mhm.
and then people who thought they could escape justice, Ramirez. And so
Mm.
fate, you could potentially say that fate played a part in all of those things and then connects all those things because at first in the beginning, where did I write that down? I literally wrote down somewhere. Okay, how the fuck is Branden going to connect it? What is the
Yeah.
Golden Gate Bridge and Diane Feinstein have to do with all this? But this was another thing that I thought. No, I'm going to get ahead of myself and I'm going to get
Okay.
confused. So,
All right. All right. Well,
okay.
I'll give you, as we move forward, I'll give you the main things that I was trying to do with the episode. All right.
Okay.
So anyway, let's start. Go ahead.
Okay. I liked how you introduced Everest and the Mariana
Trench. Yeah.
and the Moonwalkers. Was it like a conscious choice to be talking about people who conquer something and people who escape something, or was this just like
It was survival.
Survival.
People who survive things, because anyone will tell you about Everest. So you're in the death zone up there. It's about surviving. Okay. And anyone who goes to the Mariana Trench, you're one bad weld away from being squashed like a fucking grape. Okay. At the bottom of the sea. And anyone who goes to the moon, you're strapping yourself onto a bomb and getting launched into space. So all those things were about survival. And I just love the Halfway to Hell Club. Just the title, right? What we're talking about here, and that these guys survived something. They survived. They fell off a fucking bridge, and they.
But that was what question I had.
Yeah.
I understand that if there is no safety net, you're not going to survive, obviously.
Yeah.
But like the safety net is at the bottom, right? Or was it like halfway through?
The safety net is it hangs like a net under a trapeze at the circus.
Okay, but it's not it's not like right over the water.
No,
like
it's hanging from the superstructure of the bridge.
Okay, so they're not falling.
You're falling, but you're falling because you got to clear everything first. And so when the decks were added to the bridge, the decks have a structure to them also. So the decks are probably 15 or 20 feet, like kind of thick, with the superstructure of the girders that hold up the decks that we drive on. So the net is then attached to those. And so they have to make sure that they're clear of everything for the net to work. So you're probably falling 20 or 30, maybe 40 feet before the net catches you.
Okay.
So you know
like
what's going
on the way down.
Excuse me?
You don't have to. You don't want to hit it. You're trying to not hit anything on the way down to the net, essentially, right?
Right, but some of them do, right? Like Zampa was injured, right? You knock your head into something on the way down, but you know that you're falling. You're in free fall for a second, and you realize what's happening, and then you're in the net. Yeah, it's crazy. I know, it's crazy.
I mean, you would have to pay me so much money to do a job that risky. I'm imagining that they were not getting paid so much money to work on this bridge.
Well, back then, Like, look, like bridge workers and iron workers and people building skyscrapers, they make great money in today's money. So
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it was the same back then. Yeah. Like
Okay.
it was a really good job to have for what was basically like an unskilled laborer is what they called them because you didn't have a college degree. But there's a lot of skill involved in that and a lot of nerve and a lot of courage.
Bravery.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
No,
And
thank you.
and this was all during the WPA, right? This was a works project. This was when Roosevelt was like, let's get everybody back to work. It's in the early 30s when he was like just printing money. But we built the freeways and we built the Hoover Dam and we built the Empire State Building and we built the Golden Gate Bridge and we built all of this great stuff, you know? And this is one of the projects.
I literally have written down, you just nerded out so much doing all this, didn't you? And I was going to ask that, like, was this like really awesome for you? And then you just answered that without me asking it. Like,
There's a great book called Dreams of Iron and Steel, which I think it's in 4 parts. And it's just a deep, nerdy dive into like building the construction of like the sewers of London, which was this massive public works
ooh,
project, which is
cool.
amazing. The Brooklyn Bridge. Whoa, just you know, so
I
and I
sorry, go ahead.
I love shit like that. I love these big projects that require just the ingenuity of the human mind and big team effort and and you have guys that like with the Brooklyn Bridge, Washington Roebling was the guy in charge and he just had this like incandescent leadership, right? Where people were just like whatever you say, dude. Yes. Your faith and your grit and your unwillingness to take no for an answer and dealing with, Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall on the Manhattan side and politics on the Brooklyn side and getting the bridge. I mean, stuff like that. So much goes into it.
Hmm.
I just love those stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I know you said in there, you said, I'm no engineer, but I have read a lot of books on, and I was like, oh, he's flexing his little
No, you want a good one?
nerdy muscles here.
Read The Path Between the Seas, which is about the construction of the Panama Canal. That'll blow your mind. So
I mean,
good.
honestly, I mean, even just listening to you describe the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, like my mind can't really, there are certain things like my brain cannot wrap around, like the infiniteness of space. I feel like that's like most people's case, things like that. But like trying to think before you explain it or before I read about it or anything, like how did they make this massive bridge across this massive waterway all the way back then? Like, how did they do that? I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't dream it up. And I feel like I can dream up just about anything. So I actually think I might find that interesting. The London, what'd you say? The sewers?
In London, yeah. Whew, so great with all the brickwork and that's all they're still in use today. Built in like the 1800s and they're still using them. And when you read about the Brooklyn Bridge and how they made the piers that the masonry towers stand on, they're using caissons. When you were a kid in the bathtub, did you ever like take a cup and you just above the water and then put it all the way to the bottom of the tub and what's ever in there stays dry, right?
Sure.
You create an air pocket. All right. Now imagine that, but like the size of a house, right? That gets buried in the East River. And then men in a tube go down into that and excavate the bottom of the East River till they hit bedrock. You're in like you're underwater and it's super fucking hot and it's really, really dangerous.
That's
And no one had
awful.
ever done it before. And there were all of just these techniques and procedures that were thought up and like, okay, we're a young country and we've got to work shit out on our own and build stuff and we have money and we have the minds, we have the money, we have the will. Let's do stuff. Let's make great shit. And we did. And we did. Yeah.
It's stuff that I would never think to like be interested. Like that would just, I never be like, huh, I'm interested in learning about this. But now hearing you talk about it, it's like, I'm kind of interested in learning about that.
See,
I
but
think
think about bridges. There's a great movie from like 10, 12 years ago called, oh man, Margin Call. It was basically a fictionalized version of the financial crisis. Okay.
Okay.
It's one of the best casts that you'll see. It was a master class in directing and writing. Such a great movie. It all takes place over one night.
Mhm.
And what Stanley Tucci plays a pivotal character in it. And these guys are all like hedge fund investment guys. Okay. And the world is the sky's falling and they're trying to save their own asses. And there's a scene towards the end with Tucci when he's sitting on the steps of his place in Brooklyn. And he's like, I was an engineer before I was in finance. I built a
Mhm.
bridge once in West Virginia. And he goes through like how I nerded out with all these numbers. He goes through it spanned this gorge and it connected this town with this town. Before the bridge was there, it was a 90-minute drive, like a 40-mile, 90-minute drive around. And like 7,000 people use the bridge every day. So he goes, so that means X amount of hours saved per day, X amount of miles not driven per day. That means X amount of barrels of oil saved in 100. It was like wound up being millions and millions of hours, of man hours, of hours in the car, time that they're spending with their family instead of behind the wheel. Da, 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 da. And just in this 3-minute monologue, you realize the importance of bridges. Okay.
Right.
And with the Golden Gate, it was like an 8-hour drive to go from Sausalito all the way around to get to the city of San Francisco. And now
Right.
it's 7 minutes,
I've never been
So,
across the Golden Gate Bridge.
oh, it's great. It's
I've
great.
never been across it.
Beautiful. It's like going back in time. It's this beautiful Art Deco-y, just gorgeous orange.
Yeah, the numbers were cool. It was cool to hear how much paint it took, like a bajillion gallons of. I know you
47,000
were very
gallons of
specific,
paint.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, "Whoa, like
And I
that's."
and I didn't add one thing and I forgot and I had it in my notes and it didn't make it into the final is how much weight all the paint added. That I didn't say that, right?
No, no. Oh, you
So,
don't even think about that.
oh yeah, you know where it's really important is in aviation. That's why for a long time American Airlines had cheaper tickets because none of their planes were painted. And so they could use less fuel for their planes because it adds thousands of pounds. A paint job on an airplane adds
Wow,
thousands of pounds.
really?
Right. Yeah. The
That's
the the
really
paint
nice.
on the yeah, the paint on the Golden Gate Bridge added 500,000 pounds to the final weight.
What?
Think about it. A gallon of paint, 47 so it was 47,000 gallons
That's
of
true.
paint.
It's not changing its weight once you paint it
No,
on.
no, no.
It's still a gallon.
Exactly. And a gallon of paint is between 10 and 12 pounds. Yeah.
All right, fine. Your nerdy stuff is blowing my mind a little bit right now. Jeez. Fine. I'm interested.
It's interesting.
It is. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. But I still was listening to all this about the Golden Gate Bridge and about the Halfway to Hell Club, and
Mhm.
I'm like, okay. And so in my head, I thought, well, the Halfway to Hell Club, maybe it's because like Dante's Inferno, like descent into hell, like this is all connecting through that. But I couldn't figure out like how you're going to connect it. And then you went on to Feinstein,
Yeah.
Feinstein,
Feinstein. Yeah,
and
Diane Feinstein.
and I was like, why is this woman in here? I could not see how it was all going to come together. And then I like can't believe I've never heard like she fucked it all up.
All of it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fraud. Yes. Yes.
We're not there, but I have questions about it when we get there. So the bridge, this is what I wrote down when I listened to it. The bridge is a symbol, obviously a symbol of progress. We understand that,
Mhm.
but it's also like a line between life and death because
Mhm.
what did you say that? You didn't say that, right?
I
I thought you might
didn't.
have.
No, I didn't. But yeah, above and below, all that.
Sometimes
Sure.
when because I listen a couple times and I'll take notes in my notes app or then also in a notebook and then I'll combine them. And sometimes I'm like reading through the notes. I'm like, did I come up with that? Or is that something he said?
No, I didn't say that, but that's a cool observation. Yeah.
um, okay. So this episode was much less gory,
Mhm.
which I appreciated from the like neck slashing sounds and stuff from the last episode.
Mhm.
Um, it And I'm listening, and you're like, "What is the one clue?" And I'm like, "The sneaker, the sneaker." And I mean, it is so unbelievable. There was only 6 pairs of that sneaker in a size. Now, it was just 6 pairs in a size 11, correct?
Right. So now if you think of all of the numbers, if you think of if it's 6 pairs in each size, that's a lot of sneakers, right?
Sure.
If you say with like just starting with a men's 5 through a men's 13,
Yeah,
okay? If you have
okay.
6 with half sizes, right?
Yeah, if
That's
you look at it
16
over.
sizes times 6 pairs. You're talking about, almost 100 pairs of sneakers
Right,
that they shipped. But
right.
when you get down to it, size 11 and a half of the model number 440, there were only 6 and 5 went to Arizona, and there was 1 black pair that went to Los Angeles.
I was
And
shocked. I mean, that was very.
imagine how happy the cops were when they figured that out. They're like,
Oh
Are
my
you
god.
fucking kidding me? Holy
Right.
shit.
This is
If
it. We got him.
we
Like, we'll be
find
able to
this guy,
find
he's
him.
wearing these shoes. We tie him to every crime scene. Done. Great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she just
Yeah.
blows it.
She claims she was acting in the best interests of her constituents.
Okay, so that was a question, like, what, like, mm, did she not really know what she was doing? Was she just trying
Yes.
to, like, really?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
you believe that? She really had no idea what she was
I,
doing?
I, I think that she really didn't. I really think that she didn't think it through. It all happened so quick. There was so much hysteria. And they're like, whoa, the Night Stalker is in San Francisco? Hold on. We've just got to get all the information out there without pausing for a second and seeing how that could hurt the investigation. Okay.
Okay, I guess I could see that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Because
I'll
why
give it.
else, why else would she? Right? Like,
I don't know.
why
Maybe
did
she wants to be the one to announce it.
but think about it. What would you do with the information as a citizen? If he was like, okay, he uses a 22 caliber and he's wearing a Via sneakers. Are you going to be looking wait, hey murderer, what kind of gun, what caliber gun is that? And
Well,
let me look at
right.
your
So it
sneakers
doesn't
real
make
quick.
like, why, like, how does that help anybody by knowing?
It doesn't. All it does is hurt the investigation. Yeah.
Right.
She was trying to say it, and how she was defending herself. She was using those two pieces of information so people would know that she was serious, that there's an actual public threat right now, because here's the proof that this guy is in our city. Okay. She could have
Mm,
said, we have
we have
evidence
some,
that
yeah,
we're withholding, but that
right.
we know for sure it's him, instead of her just saying exactly what it was.
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. That happens all.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many cases I've been where it's like the police were withholding part of it because they don't want to, like, that's very common. It's unbelievable that, and then he throws. So at this, I literally think I said, oh, okay, so now I'm seeing it, literally seeing Ramirez, Feinstein, and the bridge connected. Like,
That's where
obviously, there are non-literal ways that you can connect
yeah.
them
Yeah.
for sure, but
There's also a very real, tangible connection
right.
between all of this, where many people on one side will say, abused her office in
Mhm.
a way that completely blew up the investigation, and that the LA homicide detectives had been working on for 18 months. Because right
By
there, by saying that, and by
yeah.
saying that he walked out on the bridge, he dropped the shoes, he dropped the gun. See ya.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
Now, how do we know that he walked out on the bridge and dropped the shoes and dropped the gun? According to him?
Yep.
According to his interviews. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Because they asked him, because in the next episode, they had him dead to rights with certain things that happened in
Okay.
rapid succession just a few days after this. Okay.
Okay.
And he wanted to talk like right away. And they asked him, they said, Richard, where are the sneakers? And he goes, oh, I saw that lady mayor up in San Francisco tell everybody what you had on me. So I fucking got rid of them. Golden Gate Bridge, baby.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
What do you think that do you think it was when he heard that it was like a panic, or it was like, I mean, do you think he was like really nervous? Because he kind of has this, not like,
He's
well,
a
I
pretty
guess
cool customer.
yeah, he's like, not, he doesn't seem panicked ever really, except for the Jesus sighting.
Right. Exactly.
you know, and the Rambo guy that chased him down the hallway while he's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
behind him.
Right. So no,
Um,
I agree with you. I don't think he panicked. I think he stayed super cool. I think he
he's
went
like,
out
ah, I'll get new
and
shoes.
bought a new pair of sneakers.
Right.
Okay. Kept these and then took a walk. Took a cab or whatever, went down to the Golden Gate Bridge and went on the pedestrian walkway and just, made sure no one was really watching and just dropped shit off the edge.
Do they have cameras on the Golden Gate Bridge?
They do now.
They do now. They didn't then,
No,
obviously. No.
no. But do you know why they do now?
So because people kill themselves all the time there. Yeah.
You could
I
see
really can't.
you could
Can't
see the
understand
videos.
what you. Oh, I've heard that actually.
Yeah.
I don't really want to. I don't. I don't. I have no interest in watching that, and I also don't understand that. That seems like a terrible way to go.
Well,
Imagine those seconds.
it's symbolic for people that live in that city, right? You can see the bridge from anywhere, and then what I've been told. I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or not, but from that height, it's like landing on concrete, landing
Yeah.
on water.
Oh, I believe that for sure.
But some people have survived it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I don't think I knew that. Well, that's unfortunate for them. I can't imagine that they like survived it and had a glorious life afterwards. Maybe they did. I
they
don't
did.
actually know. I'll look that up.
And want to hear something interesting? Every survivor of trying to commit suicide at the Golden Gate Bridge, they've said the same thing. The moment they jumped, they regretted it. They regretted it. They wish they hadn't.
I bet.
Like
That's
the
what I'm
whole way
saying.
down, you're like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have done this. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how? I mean, morbid conversation, but I would never choose a way to kill myself where like I have time to think about it before I actually accomplish it. Like I take a bunch of pills or jumping off a bridge or a building. You're thinking you're alive before you're dead for a few seconds at least. Oof, no, thank you.
Well, I have a good friend who takes calls on the suicide hotline.
You
Okay.
told me about that person.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in his
So
training, one of the things that they learn is that and again, I'm probably speaking out of turn, but because I'm not trained in this, but just in casual conversations with him, every method of suicide but one is considered a cry for help. Okay, because there's only one that is you're sure of it. Nope. It's to step off something very high, like a building that's not into water. It's the only thing that is like doesn't matter 100 stories up off a building. You're not going to survive it. You're not.
Okay, yeah, 100 stories are definitely not.
20 stories. You're probably right. So that's the only one that's considered. They mean it. No question. They're not looking for help. They mean it. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Almost that gun.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm going to look up these survival of the
look it up. Look it up. They're interesting. They're very interesting.
Okay, now your favorite part, the Dante part.
Yes.
Circle.
Malebolge.
Right. I was just going to say, I don't know how to say this, but yes, the 8th circle of hell. And I wrote, so why are they called the Bolivias?
Bolgia.
The Bolgias, whatever.
That's
the different ones, like all the different, the panders and seducers, the flatterers, I can't say a lot of this, and I don't want to sound people.
Simoniacs.
Yes. So what is it called?
Simonia.
But what are the
Bolgia? Bolgi. It's Italian, and it means like a trench or a valley or a moat, kind of. That's what they're, and male is bad, so it's like bad, like evil trenches that are terrible, and they're all traversed by these bridges where people like Virgil and Dante can avoid the awfulness of what's going on in the trenches, but they can walk across and get to the center. So imagine it. Imagine an ice cream cone, okay, and each trench, as you go deeper and deeper, and there's a bridge kind of connecting as you go down over 10 of them. and each trench has different sinners for different sins.
Bolgia.
Yeah.
It's funny because, for the Dante parts, I always transcribe that part so that I can read it while you're read along, because that's how I learn. Like, that's how I understand things best. Like when you're talking about the bridge, and I don't know why, but I think I said that before. For the Dante parts, like I can't just listen to it. I have to be reading it as well to like really be understanding what you're saying and be able to picture it in my head. And so when I transcribed it, it spells it Bolivia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's got to be my fucked up pronunciation. Listen, I'm not hearing anybody say this. You know what I mean? It's like I'm reading it, and that's how I think it's supposed to be.
I mean, that's very, very brave of you, because people are real assholes about podcasts mispronouncing words.
You know what? I read a biography of Harry Truman, and it made me feel better about it, because he was a big reader growing up, not highly educated, and when he was in the military, he loved reading the ancient Greeks, and he would say like, oh, like in a book, and he didn't know how to pronounce like Epictetus, right? He would pronounce it wrong, and people would make fun of him, like, dipshit. And he goes, because I don't know how to say the guy's name doesn't mean that I don't understand what he's trying to say, and I haven't internalized it and thought deeply about it, because I didn't have a professor in a lecture type of setting, right? Who gives a shit, right? So I'm like, hey,
yeah, I mean, and these are not like, this is Italian words. These are not like common words. I mean, if you mispronounce, there was a word that I mispronounced for years. Paradigm. I used to say paradigm. And I'm an educated person. I have multiple college degrees. And for the longest time, I couldn't remember how to say that word. And I think that doesn't mean that I'm like ignorant or that I'm unwilling to learn. It just, in my head, I don't know, I couldn't say it. Anyways, I thought this was real. I really was interested. My favorite one was the sorcerers and the false prophets, how their heads were twisted backwards. They could only walk in reverse, and their weeping eyes now faced their past sins, literally faced their past sins, eternally unable to look forward. And like, if like you could hear, oh, I'm unable to look forward. And that feels like, theoretically, I can't look forward in my life or something, but they like literally and theoretically.
And so, who these people are? These people are like all of these dipshits that have like a half a storefront on Sunset Boulevard that say psychic tarot cards, that claim to be able to see the future, that are fraudulent in their actions. This is where they end up, with their heads backwards.
Well, this is really interesting, because I know that you had that, like the eighth circle of hell is not called fraud, it's deceit.
Eighth circle's fraud. Yeah.
It is fraud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I thought that it was something else. And I was like, I can't imagine, like, who's a fraud? Somebody, like, I can imagine the most basic person that's fraudulent, but I would have never thought of this, of all of these different versions of fraudulent people: corrupt politicians, hypocrites, thieves, fraudulent counselors, flatterers.
Yeah.
Flatterers. I mean, like, and they're a river of excrement.
Right?
Ew. Ew. But is that because like they're full of shit? Like they're just shit coming out of their mouth, and so like they're
not exactly.
I really, and then the say it again. Simoniacs. Who they were planted head first into rock crevices. Their feet on fire.
Kicking as it like trying to find the ground so they could run away.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was I actually did find this very interesting. My favorite line from all of this Dante, because all of the sections of Dante are very poetic, and I've never read it, as I said before. So I'm never sure, like, is this are you writing some of this? Is some of this taken? I think it's a combination of both, probably, but there's always some really like memorable lines, whether they're yours or Dante's, I don't know. But human ambition unchecked can fashion endless variations of fraud. Whoa, what a great line.
That's Virgil. Virgil said that to Dante. So that's one of I love
it.
Yeah, that's a Dante line. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, now that's translated. I don't know how you would say it in Italian, but that's the English translation of that
Ah,
sentiment. Yeah.
I just really because
And
you
ambition.
never you never think of ambition, or I never think of ambition as being something that could ever really be negative. I think ambition is I'm
Oh,
ambitious, you're ambitious.
yeah.
Like I feel like ambition is a positive quality. When I think about ambition, it's a positive quality.
Totally.
But then when I look at it like this,
Yeah.
well, and then I'm thinking like, well, people are willing to step over other people. They're so ambitious and
See, in
push.
Hollywood, it's different. And maybe I'm jaded, but it's definitely a pejorative in Los Angeles. Like if I'm talking to someone and like, I'm like, I heard about this person wants a job, right? Like, and you know them, like, tell me about them. And if they go, nice, smart, ambitious, means that they'll fuck you to get ahead.
Well, yeah, and even I learned, and I've only
Yeah,
been doing working in this
yeah,
business for 7, 8 years, and
yeah,
I've even learned
yeah,
people will fuck anyone to get ahead in Hollywood. Like literally, it seems like anyone will just step over and lie to
yeah,
anyone.
yeah. And not
Ugh,
everybody's like that, right? Like there are
right.
good people that aren't like
Sure.
that, and they don't want to be called ambitious, you know,
Oh,
because it's just, that word's just got a lot of it's got a lot of butter on it.
huh.
Yeah,
Okay. I'd be interested to know what your listeners think because I'd imagine a good handful of them are not working in Hollywood.
yeah,
And so, like in other walks of life, ambition, because like I feel like that's like a resume term. I mean, it's a very general term,
yeah. But
but
that's what I tell my kids to be ambitious. Have a
right.
greater
Like it's
ambition than
amazing.
this. Like, what? Yeah,
Right.
I know.
But so it was interesting to see this. I just really love this sentence unchecked compassion, endless variations of fraud. It just really like stuck with me.
Yeah.
Um, So do you think that Ramirez was not just a serial killer, but that like he was also a fraudulent figure in some way? Or in what way?
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's a good question. Again, my aim for this, I wanted this to be much more Feinstein centric,
Okay.
right? Because the cops I talked to were just so angry that someone in a position of power would fuck everything up so willingly.
Totally.
Like they thought that it was done. They thought that they were going to catch this guy, that all the evidence was gone, that he was just going to vanish. Okay.
Right.
So they were, and they were calling her a fraud, that she didn't deserve to be mayor, that she didn't know what she was talking about, that she has no leadership, that she has no whatever. And so that but then I realized that I was talking to, very, very passionate law enforcement officers who have a very specific point of view about a person, and they
Hmm.
allowed politics to kind of get involved. And I realized that if I really wanted to tie that episode all in with her, that it would have come up like a hit piece. I didn't
Ah,
want to do that.
well, it didn't come across like that.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
accomplished
And
not having it for a hit
on
piece.
purpose. But for Ramirez to be fraudulent, we could probably figure something out, and it would be in the vein of, was he really a Satanist, or was he just saying it to scare people and for his persona? You know?
Yeah. Oh, well, that would be a very, very
Yeah. In that
obvious
way,
that he would be fraudulent for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um, so if we were to suggest that Ramirez, Feinstein, and well, let's just say Ramirez and Feinstein um, belong in their own versions of Dante's Hell, where do you think they would be?
All right, who now? Feinstein.
Ramirez and Feinstein.
All right, so Ramirez would be um, violence, is what I
Yep.
think,
Yeah.
and I don't think Feinstein would deserve to be in Dante's Hell, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's that's a fair answer.
No, she was a good and decent public servant for more than 35 years. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
and say what you want about her political affiliations. She did it. She did it, you know?
Okay. So we've talked about how in Dante's Hell, like the punishment fits the crime.
Right.
so to speak, which I like. Um,
It's called
so
contrapasso is the word in Italy, in Italian, contrapasso. I think I'm saying that right, which
punishment.
translates to punishment fitting the crime.
Yeah, I like that. I think
Yeah.
that it should.
Divine
Um,
justice.
so if Ramirez were in Dante's Inferno, what would his punishment be?
So violence against others. What was that? Let's see. I think he would. Oh wow. So he'd be in the phlegathon, the river of boiling blood.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he'd be in there with with Attila the Hun and with Alexander the Great and all the
Your favorite.
other slaughterers of the innocent. Yeah, that's where I think he would be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
and he would be just another murderer there. There'd be nothing special about him.
well, right, because he'd be among like horrific
Exactly.
people.
Right. And all he ever wanted to be was special in in what he did, on Earth.
He
And I think,
accomplished
yeah, but I think one of his punishment would also, besides the eternal agony
it.
of boiling blood, it would be anonymity.
Right, because
Yeah.
he wouldn't be special.
Yep. Exactly.
Unfortunately, he was special,
Yes,
and
he was. Yes, he was.
um, so then we get to the Romeros and
Yeah.
Bill and Inez, the two families.
Yeah.
So James, like awesome.
Yeah.
Good job, James.
The kid or the dad?
Yes, the
The
kid.
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 Fuck yeah. And
The
he
kid who
became
like saw him and like hid and then went and got his parents. I mean, like, oh my
and
God.
remember the license plate?
Kid. Yeah. And then he
Yeah.
ran out with the license plate and like, I mean, like
Yeah.
really, really smart kid.
Yeah,
That
we're
was
going to cover him a little bit more in a bonus episode because he was hailed as a hero in Los Angeles, and they had a big press conference for him, and they gave him all these awesome gifts and shit. Yeah. We'll get to him
oh
later.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because I
Yeah,
was
he was
like,
definitely honored by the city.
oh, that's great. Because I was
Yeah.
listening. I was like, yeah, James, good job.
Yeah.
And then
And then Bill Carnes. Bill Carnes.
right.
Yeah.
So we see Ramirez. He has run away a couple times. Like so now we have the Jesus sighting and the Rambo
Terminator
guy.
Terminator.
Yeah.
And then just being discovered, hearing footsteps and lights going on in the house.
Ran.
He's like, I got to go because he was fully the element of surprise. That was his only advantage. That was it. Kill the guy first because I can overpower the women. Like that was it.
Right.
That was his entire MO.
Worked for a long time.
Yeah, and if he didn't have the element of surprise, he had to get out of there. Like how many others did he run away from? Right? How many other houses that we don't know about until he found the open window where there are people awake and he had to leave?
Oh, I'm sure tons. Like all those times when it was like he took 2 weeks off, he took a month off. Maybe, but maybe also he just didn't he couldn't get into a house. There wasn't the element of the surprise. And then I thought of one more time, he doesn't run away, but he walks away. Remember, it's like the first or second episode, the woman in the car and they're running around the car together. He's chasing her around the car. And then she's like, okay, you already tried to murder or whatever she says. And then he's like,
you shot me once, don't shoot me again. He's like,
and then he's like,
all right,
cool.
no, later.
God,
Happy
so
St. Pat. Yeah.
And so when I was listening to this, and you said he immediately shot Bill Carn in the face 3 times.
3 times.
And I was like, does he survive? Which is such a stupid thing to think, but because the last people survived, both of them survived being shot in the face, I was like, maybe Ramirez just has like really bad aim and just clips their side of their head or something. But no, he died, huh?
No, Carn survived. He survived.
What?
Yeah. They removed 2 of the bullets and 1 is lodged.
You did not say that in this episode.
I thought I had. Maybe I left it out, or I'll get to it or it's in the next
one. I
one.
should go back and listen. I will be so mad at myself.
No, I was saving him for a bonus. There's going to be a bonus episode about survivors, and so that's
He
where
survived 3 shots to the head.
No, he did. He survived 3. But listen, it's a 22. It's a small caliber, right? So
still, like shot in the face.
There's an argument that could be made that it was more surprising of the people who died instantly from a single 22 because it's so small, the bullet could like ricochet and not do the damage of like a 32 or 44 slug, right? So,
Wow.
yeah, it's okay, surprising, yes, but not unheard of that someone would survive that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to brush up on my gun
Ask
calibers.
Mark. Ask Mark.
Yeah.
Can I
I'm
survive
sure
a
he's
22?
sitting somewhere in the house
Look,
listening.
he'll say, "Oh, what, you mean a fucking BB gun? Yeah, Margot, you'll be fine."
Okay, so now he's not caught yet, but he's close to caught. Well, we're getting to him. You said this is the beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end.
So,
Beginning of the end.
I mean, as you're explaining it, like you get into a car and you adjust it for yourself. So
Right.
I'm very short. So any car I get into, I move the seat way up
Yeah.
and I have to adjust all the mirrors because I'm smaller. And then if Mark drives my car, I get in and it's like the seat's way back, the mirrors all. So like I'm picturing this happening, and how could you forget to wipe off the rear view mirror?
Because here's the thing. Listen, I've thought about this a lot. Because here's the thing. We do thousands of unconscious acts per day. Okay.
Yes.
Thousands. All right.
Yeah.
Like you don't know how many times until COVID, how many times you touch your face per day, right? On average. And it's like 600 or something crazy.
Sure.
Okay.
Totally.
Right. But so, all right. Now, if Ramirez is being really surgical about wiping everything down for Prince, you get in the car, you adjust the seat, you immediately wipe it down. You adjust the side view mirror, you wipe it down. You adjust the rear view mirror, and then you wipe it down. But then you start driving. And now what happens when you're sitting in a seat for a long time? You automatically, you relax and you go down a little bit. And so, I just got to adjust it real quick without even thinking. It takes 1 second.
That's
and
right.
That was an unconscious act that he did. And they got him.
And it was really interesting because I was like, oh, that's it. He's done. But then it was a good reminder that they can't just enter it into a computer. They have to have somebody to compare it to. How the fuck did they catch anybody in the 70s and 80s? Like,
a lot of people got away with shit.
Got away.
A lot of people got away with shit until the 2000s, probably. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That's like there's so many cases that I come across that I have to I'm turning them away on Death by Southwest because there's so many that it's like 20 years later, DNA, genealogy, blah, blah, blah. Like they're solving so many.
It's gonna happen. That's the new wave. The new wave of police work and forensics is investigative genetic genealogy. And now they're calling it FIG. Forensic Investigative Genetic Genealogy, FIG.
That's why you never send your DNA into any of that 23andMe.
No way. Of course not. Same. And here's a question.
I thought maybe you had done it. Never.
No. But if anyone in your family does, you're fucked anyway.
No way. No one in my family has done it.
Now here's the question. It's a legitimate question. I asked this of Carolyn. Carolyn's another colleague of myself and Margot's. Why wouldn't you?
Maybe I want to commit a crime one day.
Okay, fine. My answer is why I wouldn't is because I wouldn't want to be faced with, hey, a blood relative of yours is a murderer. Okay.
Oh.
And we need you to help. Like, what would you say yes or would you say no? Like if they came to you and they said, we're 90% sure that a blood relative of yours is a brutal fucking serial killer. And if you give us your DNA, we can get him off the streets and put him away.
Yeah, I'd probably do it then. I don't know. I'd get a lawyer and I'd make the lawyer decide for me. I would never do anything without a lawyer. I've learned
that's a very real question that has been posed to a lot of people.
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Realistically, no. I'm not going to commit a crime. Right. I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't not do it because of that either. I wouldn't do it because I think that the cops fuck up sometimes. Everybody fucks up sometimes. That is not like a dig on the cops. But I think that, things get confused. Maybe a paper goes this way. Maybe you write down something here that isn't correct. And then my DNA, if nobody catches that mistake and it accidentally gets matched, you know what I mean? Like mistakes happen. I don't want to be anywhere.
I don't want the mistakes happen, but what if it could be manipulated on purpose?
somebody could take my
right?
I sneeze on something or I drink out of a cup and somebody
Right.
takes it. Yeah.
A surreptitious sample.
Mhm.
Absolutely. There was a great movie in the 90s. Oh, what was it called? The Crush. Did you ever see The Crush?
With Alicia Silverstone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and Carrie Elwes. Remember
Yes,
how she got him? She fished a condom out of the trash?
that's right. I was
Yeah.
literally just gonna say, it's real this might be too, X-rated for your podcast, but I'll keep it quick. But, there's, a business in selling, used undergarments
Yeah,
or
in
something.
Japan. In Japan, that's a you could go to a vending machine
Vending
in the
machine,
airport.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in the United States as well, but there's no vending machines, but send it through the mail. Never, never would I do that. You are just sending your
You're
DNA.
sending your DNA.
Weirdos.
You absolute
Sorry.
fucking trophy collecting weirdos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost felt bad for saying weirdos, but then I was like, no, they want other people's underwear. It's
That's
weird.
weird. Look, I don't mean to kink shame either, but that's kinda weird.
I think it's
Yeah.
very odd.
Okay, but I get it. Hey, look, if you're out there and that's what you're into, you do you. Just, stay within the law. Okay.
There you go. Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect response to that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more question. No, I
Yeah.
have two more questions. So Armando, cousin, is that right?
Friend from El Paso. Yep.
Friend from El
Armando
Paso.
Armando Rodriguez.
Did the cop, you said literally, did the cop literally beat him? Oh, like hit him, like beat him.
Beat the shit out of him.
Because
Yeah.
I was listening and I thought like beat him like emotionally. And
No,
then
no,
you
no,
said
no.
literally. So
Closed fist punches to the face. That's the next episode gets a lot more into this detective and his methods and everything. Yeah.
okay. Um
Yeah.
what you already answered this. I actually wrote down, was there anything, because this was so packed with like
Yeah.
history, politics, everything. I was like, was there anything that you really wanted to include but you had to cut? Because you're quite good at keeping these episodes around 30 minutes. Honestly, I don't know how you do it.
Yep.
But you kind of explained that already, that you wanted to, it was supposed to be more Feinstein heavy.
Yeah, it was I just couldn't crack it. I couldn't break that storyline. That's all.
It was, you're the only one who knows that. I mean, now I guess other people know, but
Yeah.
listening to it, you would never know that. Okay, so if you had to pick one of these exclusive clubs to be part of the Everest Summiters, the Mariana Trench Explorers, or the Moonwalkers, or the Halfway to Hell Club, I feel like you're going to say Halfway to Hell Club, so I should probably eliminate that. But which one are you choosing and why?
No, I'd go to the moon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm terrified of heights, speed, fire, in small places, but I would figure it out to get
Okay.
into a capsule and strap myself to a rocket and
Oh, you're gonna
go to the
you're gonna
moon.
pick something that has all of those things.
I have
Small
all of them,
spaces.
but listen, I'd confront those fears and I would get over
Really?
them and
I
I
mean,
would do it. I'd be an astronaut. That's what I'd do.
don't you think you have the opportunity, you probably could go to the moon or do something, like, people who know people,
Right?
I'm not gonna say names, but in my head, I'm like, this guy, and he knows this guy, so he could probably get you to the moon.
See, but here's what I wouldn't do Everest because your survival is based on a lot of other people doing their jobs perfectly. Okay.
Oh,
And also half of it is based on the weather not changing at the wrong time, which could happen at any fucking time. Okay. And after what happened with the Titan submersible a couple summers ago, going down
yeah.
to the Titanic wreck, where all I had to hear was they bolt you in. You're
Fucked up.
bolted into a small thing the size of like a telephone booth or a minivan. I
That could be
couldn't do that. See, but here's why, because I fly fine. Like I'll get on an airplane,
Yeah.
right? But you know what I'm not okay with is when we're on the tarmac for fucking 3 hours. Then I start getting claustrophobic. But when
Yeah.
we're moving and we're actually doing, so I think I could handle going to the moon. I really think I could, being in a small space.
Really weird, because I'm very, very claustrophobic,
Mm.
very claustrophobic, and it's triggered obviously by small spaces, but also by darkness.
Mm.
I can't do pitch black. If I can't see how much space is around me, I lose my mind.
Yeah,
Mark,
sure. Yeah.
like I really, because he likes like complete darkness to sleep, and I can't. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm in a pitch black room, I will have a panic attack immediately. Like,
You know what I did? When I was like 21 or 22, my dad had moved into a new house in Virginia, and he had a finished basement with an apartment in the basement. Okay.
cool.
And that's where I was going to stay. And it was brand new. Okay.
Mhm.
And my first night there, apparently, I wake up and subterranean, no light anywhere, inky blackness, and I
Nope.
forget, and I don't know where I am, and I think I've been kidnapped, and I start freaking out, and I start kicking at the walls, and I trash the whole fucking room, okay, until my brother comes in and turns on the light, and he's like, "Hey, man," and I look around, I'm like, "Oh, we're at Dad's." He goes, "Just go back to sleep. We'll do it
Oh my
in the morning."
god.
The room was fucking demolished.
Funny. That's
Yeah.
but, like, I get that. That's funny, and I also understand it because I would yeah, pitch blackness I can't do, and then small spaces, but I fly fine. However, what's weird, on the tarmac, also, I get a little
Yeah.
antsy. But I mean, I'm assuming this is with all people who are claustrophobic. I don't know. Maybe it is just me, but it's a small space, but it's not being able to get to fresh open air. That's what it is for me.
That's
So, like,
the issue. Yeah.
on the tarmac, I could. We're not moving. We're not flying. I could get off the plane. When we're in the air, I can't.
Right,
So
but
it's
so
so
I look,
counterintuitive.
I can't explain it either. Something in
I
my
get it.
brain switches like, "Oh, we're cool because 'cause we're moving. We're making progress." Right?
Right.
We're getting closer to our destination, and everything's cool. And at that
And
yeah.
I've been flying since I was a baby. So I have to imagine that there's something I don't know why I became claustrophobic or why I'm
Yeah.
claustrophobic, but I have to imagine that something is like embedded in me where I'm like, I'm used to it because I've been doing it since I was born.
Yep.
But yeah, oh no, I could never. I mean, I'd have to pick Everest because I could not go down to the bottom of the ocean
No way.
and I could not go to the moon. No way. And I don't heights don't I'm not scared of them, but like I don't want to be on a bridge that I could fall off of. I have no interest in that. There's a new I know we're gonna wrap up, but I have to tell you, it's got Netflix. I forget what it's called. There's some documentary that my sister watched about this couple. They're building climbers, you
Oh,
know,
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
like they climb the so they
Exterior of skyscrapers.
yes, with no
Yeah.
nothing,
No
just
safety
free
nets.
climbing.
No ropes, nothing.
Right. And so there's a documentary on Netflix that she watched and she showed me the trailer and I was like, "Nope. You couldn't pay me if you offered me 10 and I am broke. So I would do a lot of things for money. You couldn't pay me $1 billion to
Mm,
climb a building with no ropes on."
Right. It's like that Free Solo documentary with that lunatic. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
But it's just
I wouldn't
something
even
like his heart just slows down and his brain is just like focused one step at a time. Like that's it. And he just hits this
but
Zen.
he flies, right?
No, he makes it. Yeah, he does it. He climbs
Uh,
Half Dome. He climbs fucking Half Dome. It's insane.
then there's another one I watched
The
that
ice climber dies. The ice climber, that kid dies. Yeah,
yeah, you told me to watch something, one of these
yeah.
free climbing no, people are nuts.
People are
Why
nuts.
just like being alive is enough of an adventure. I don't need to climb a building with no ropes.
I agree.
Like,
I don't need to be an adrenaline junkie. I don't. No, I get it. I get it. Well, listen, thank you very much for this again. This
you.
is are so much fun.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till until next week.
My God,
So
next week's the last one. What am I gonna do after this?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to
I
have you
know.
come on
Sorry.
my podcast for bonus episodes.
There you go. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll figure out some kind of collab, some kind of crossover. So if you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend that you think might also enjoy it, and head over to Apple and rate and review the show. It helps more than you know. And if you hear me hawking any crazy products during this, I mean it. And consider supporting those great companies that support the show, because without them, I couldn't do it. Especially Quince. They're
You love them.
their cashmere is fucking great. I know I'm going to sound all bougie, but it is. It's great. Anyway,
You've
okay.
talked about it so many times to me.
I know. Sorry. Sorry, but anyway, now heading into spring, I don't know what I'm gonna do with all my great sweaters. But listen,
Oh,
thank you again, Margot. This was a lot
sure,
of
thank
fun,
you.
and I'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.